Hey everybody, welcome back. I am bored. COVID made me bored, and today at the table I am taking a look at The Reckoners by Navu Games. This is a game for 1 to 6 players, 14 and over they recommend, but I think you can go a little less than that, maybe 10. And roughly 75 minutes, which I think is a little bit under. I think that definitely is a longer game depending on player count too. This is a game based on a book series by Brandon Sanderson. It says based on the novels by Brandon Sanderson, and The Reckoners. It's a really interesting series. Um, I don't know where I should start. I'm gonna start backwards. How did I hear of this game? I don't even remember. I just randomly looked for games. I love dice games, and then somehow this showed up, and this was like I don't know 4 or 5 months ago. Couldn't find it anywhere, and I thought, yeah, it's fine. So then it went on my back of my mind, didn't think about it, and none of my local stores had it. It didn't seem like something that did well or was well known. Apparently, it was a Kickstarter. It came out with a second Kickstarter. I think this one was 2018. I'm not sure, or 2020. I'm not sure. And then another. Another Kickstarter series, sort of expansion to this called Steel Slayer came out. In any case, um, I recently moved, and I tried to find a local Facebook group of local gamers who, for board game meets and stuff like that. And I did. I joined one, and I was going through some old posts, and it was maybe 3 years ago. Someone posted saying that they were selling The Reckoners, still in shrink wrap, unopened, brand new, and it was the base Kickstarter. And I was like, yeah, absolutely, because, and not maybe it wasn't something that I don't know how they ended up getting it, but it was a Kickstarter. And if you look on the Kickstarter page when it was launched, this easily retails over 100 for sure. This person was selling it for half. So it was a no-brainer. I reached out, and the posting was 3 years old, and I said, is there any chance that you still have it? Because I don't see any other post saying that it's sold or, no longer available or anything like that. And is it still in shrink wrap? And I got a reply, yes, done. Within the week, set up a meet point, picked it up, and got it. Now, it was completely backwards. Then I thought, okay, you know what? It's probably a good idea. How about I read the book? So it's a 3-book series. I started with the first one called Steelheart, who so happens to be this menacing guy looking here. And I'm just going to pull this a little bit higher so you can see and maybe switch on my light, but it's got a sort of a glossy finish. And this book is about a world where something epic happened. Something happened to the world, a big explosion or something, and it bestowed upon average people superhuman powers. Sounds exactly like Marvel or DC or anything like that. But the twist in this series is that the theme of power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And almost every person that was bestowed these powers abused those powers. And essentially, they're referred to as called as epics because they have epic powers, and they went evil. They're just bad, or just bad luck of the draw. Everyone who got bestowed these powers just so happened to be bad people, or they got corrupted because the dark side of the force always wins. So not everyone got powers. Only a select number of people got these powers, and this was, I guess it's sort of based in the States, because you have this one city, which was Chicago, who was decimated by this guy, Steelheart. Every epic has a varying variety of abilities, just like, Superman could probably crush the Flash. And Green Lantern could probably, do a number on, I don't know, who's the lesser hero, whatever you want to call it. So these epics have varying degrees of powers, and it just so happens that Steelheart is kind of like that Superman or the Ultraman. He's the guy that is impervious, can't die, ages very slowly, has incredible power, and yeah, he kills people. So he decided to decimate the city of Chicago and create his own town called New Chicago. And other districts or other states of the US or whatever, um, same thing, and they've been renamed based on whatever powerful epic has claimed that district. Steelheart so happens to be the commander in chief of New Chicago. He has other minion epics who follow him because they're not as powerful as him. Some epics have tried to take him on, and they've died because he can crush them to a pulp. So in this storyline, Steelheart is the focus. And you have a group of people, average people, who have no special powers, but they have skills. You know, they're sharpshooters, or they're good with weapons, or martial arts, or heavy hitters, or whatever, or they're extremely tactical, or they're very smart, like Batman smart. And they've teamed together to form a group called the Reckoners. And the Reckoners are your average human people trying to take down these epics. And in the story, you have one person. His name is David, this guy right here. And I'm not going to do spoilers, but just sort of summary. When he was 10 or 8 or whatever, his father was killed by Steelheart. He witnessed it. Just like every superhuman or superhero's backstory, some kind of tragic event happened, and the remaining course of his life was focused on the one day that he would be able to try to kill Steelheart. The problem is these epics, most of them are invincible. They have these powers that are way too powerful for and can defeat the average human. So David, his role was to research. He's a thinker, and he's smart, and he spent his lifetime trying to find out weaknesses, and he did. He eventually found that certain epics have certain weaknesses, and to exploit those weaknesses. But he was only one man. He eventually knew about the Reckoners, joined the group, and together they wanted to pool their resources and knowledge and abilities, not superhuman abilities, but their intellectual abilities, to try to take down Steelheart. So I started reading the book, and actually I did finish it. I've never read anything from Brandon Sanderson. This is the first. I don't really read a lot of novels. I'm a comic book guy, and that's the extent of my vocabulary in terms of and literature. But when I read it, it really drew me in. I have to admit that reading that novel, as I'm reading it, I could picture it, what was going on in my head. It was very descriptive, and I really enjoyed it, and it drew me in. And I think it's quite a great book. I'm not one to judge because I don't read a lot of novels, but I'm going to say, read it. Do you need to know it before you play this game? No, because at the end of the day, this is a dice chucking rolling game, Yahtzee type like fun. But it helps, if you do read it, it helps tying together some of the references, the card references, the epics that you're facing, and the variety of power references that they use. So I wouldn't say you have to, but I would strongly recommend. It's like, what, 400 pages of a novel. I would strongly recommend that you read it to get sort of the backstory on this comic series or this novel series, so that you can feel a bit more immersed when it comes to the gameplay. Because when it comes to the gameplay, it's all in your imagination. It's all in your mind on what's going on, because a lot of it, there's no game board where you're moving through. There's no layout of New Chicago, and you're trying to move around and attack the different epics. No, it's all sort of in your mental space as you're doing it, with a little bit of miniatures in this. So one of the things that separates this, I don't know if there was a retail version of this, because I never saw this retail, but the Kickstarter version has a few extra cards in terms of epics and equipment cards that you get. And I think there was a deluxe version or a Steelheart version, which had upgraded components. And and more of the token trackers and stuff, and even the miniatures. All nice, but I have no regrets. I mean, obviously I wouldn't be able to find the upgraded version, but I'm very happy that I found this Kickstarter version for the price I got it for. Hands down, no brainer. I am happy with it. Now, it comes with an extra, book to talk about all the different epics that you face. I think I'll turn on this light up here just so that it looks a bit better. It's going to be a little bit reflective, but that's okay. So it's a nice little add-on for the base Kickstarter version. You've got your rule book, which goes through pretty much everything you need to know. And at the end of the day, it's roll dice, take actions, the epics attack you, and then Steelheart attacks you, rinse and repeat. This is a fully cooperative game. And you and 5 other people will be teaming together as the Reckoners. We've got Tia, Megan, David, Abraham, the Prof, and Cody. And they each have a specific unique ability to them. Tia is the intellectual. She's a very strategic planner, kind of the eyes on the situation. Megan's the gunslinger. I don't know, shooter that has no fear and doesn't take no for an answer. David, like I said, he's the newcomer, kind of naive to the group, but also knowledgeable and skillful for his work that he's done to investigate epics, and a quick thinker, and apparently improvises a lot, and most of it successful. Abraham's the heavy guns guy. He's the rock of the group, where he lifts the heavy weapons, but he's a very calm, cool, collected individual. You've got the Prof, who's sort of the leader of the group. He's had experience dealing with epics before. He is the planner, the strategist of the group. Cody kind of brings in the humor, comic relief, but he's a sharpshooter, and he's good for laying down suppressive fire, or keeping an eye over your shoulder and taking out anyone who just so happens to sneak up behind you. There's one thing to be said about this, which is the overall quality of components. Now I'm just going to move this out of the way because I feel like this is a big box. I don't know if you can tell, but this is a big box. This is almost as big as SEAL Team Flicks and almost 1.5 times its thickness. Why? Let me tell you why. I think people online have talked about its production value. As a Kickstarter, I think everyone wants good production value. And even for the base game, the production value is, I'd say it's actually quite impressive. So you're going to have a lot of these trays, and they're actually the game trays, produced by Game Trays. Game Trays, the only other experience I have with Game Trays is actually the trays that come with Dice Throne, a Marvel Dice Throne. Very nice, very well thought out, very usable. It's not. I love them actually. I actually love the Dice Throne, the Marvel Dice Throne battle chest that I have. It's great. So you're gonna have. So these are locations. So these are the locations, and it's kind of like your game map, but not really. It's more to keep track of the overall health and stats of your epics at that location. So you're going to have 6 of these, and you'll see that it's quite large. These are quite large boards. Is there a difference between the locations? No. They all have roughly the same layout, just some different graphics on them in terms of the location. So there's going to be 6 of these. And again, game trays. You'll have your epic card that goes here and a small tracker. I'll show that in a minute. And, well, I might as well go through it now. And then you'll have this part here. The purple part represents, and you'll have a token marker to indicate the level, which is the investigation level. Because with every single epic, they're practically, you can't defeat them. The only option is to find out their weakness, investigate, and find out what is their Achilles heel and use it against them. If you're able to succeed, then the second part here, the green one, is their health tracker, which they usually will have a base starting health to start with. And you'll track their health. Now, once I lay it out, I'll explain more, but I just wanted to show the components first. So you've got the trays. Okay, so the next part is you'll have the trays for your characters. So here I've got Megan. Okay, so you're going to have a slot to indicate that you've taken an action. You'll have 6 dice. and you'll have 3 roll chances, Yahtzee-like. And for each roll, you need to lock in at least 1 dice roll. And obviously, on your 3rd attempt, you keep whatever values that you've rolled. You have a spot here to keep sort of a wild token, and that can be used for any of the actions, including several other actions like breaking a barrier or moving or activating another ability that you have. So you're going to have all the reckoners represented in their trays and in their respective colors. Okay, so I'm going to put this tray here. Okay, so you can see right now, relative to the size of this box, you can see why it's taking up so much space and why the box is so big. You're going to have sort of a center tracking part for the villain. This will be for Steelheart. It only comes with 1 villain, and that's fine. You'll have the process of his abilities, and I'll explain these during my gameplay, and you'll be keeping track of investigating him for his weakness, as well as once you've done it, you'll be able to start taking down his health. So there's a tray there. Then you've got sort of your main tray where you're going to have equipment cards laid out, and you're going to have what's called the population. So the population of New Congo is in jeopardy. The epics, they don't care. Well, yeah, they'll kill you, but what they're really concerned about is wiping out the population. So your goal is to try to keep New Congo alive, and your end condition is if your total population goes down to 0. Are you attacked in this particular game? No. Is it thematic? Not really. To the novel, you're a human. All 6 of them are humans. And they don't just go willy-nilly facing these epics because they're going to lose for sure. And if they do face an epic, there is a high chance that they might get injured. But that's not the focus, because at the end of the day, you are scheming to take them down silently. So in a way, that does work for this game. So you're more concerned about the city of New Congo. You're also going to have a section here which tracks Epic's abilities to sort of find out where your hiding spot is, or they're always trying to hunt you down because the Reckoners are a thorn in their side. They want to take out the Reckoners if they can. So there's going to be this part where they're tracking down your location, and the consequences, if they are able to find information about your location, you lose dice out of your pool. You're going to have a section here that keeps track of money, because in the Reckoners, you need equipment. You're constantly going to a dealer named, I think his name is Diamond. He's the dealer that has all these fancy weapons, and you're buying stuff from him to help you in your battle against these high epics, or epics and high epics. So that's another tray, and you'll notice that it's quite large. And then you've got your miniatures. Now, this does have miniatures. Is it necessary? No, but it's part of the game. You've got miniatures to represent enforcement. Those are the non-powered epics that just they're following because they live in fear under the rule of Steelheart. So they're there as backup reinforcement. And you've got this tray here of all the miniatures, including Steelheart himself, and a movement dice for Steelheart. Now, one of the things I'm going to say is I feel like every game company should learn from this. And I know it can't apply to everything, but except for Steelheart, all the other 6 characters, it does not matter where you put them in. So this is Abraham, and this is the prof. I can put prof here and still put Abraham here. Or I can put Abraham on this side, and then this is Cody over here. Each of these slots is shaped to accommodate every single character. So you don't have to make I mean, there's only 6, but you don't have to make reference to, where did I put it? And they come out very easily. But they're also sturdy enough that they're not going to, jostle around too much. This is awesome. This by far is worth it just in itself, because I hate trays where, okay, so where does this character go? Oh, it goes over here. Where does this one go? Oh, it goes over here. Or like G.I. Joe Mission Critical, it's next to impossible to pull them out of the tray mold. It's incredibly hard, and I feel like I'm going to snap them. This is a work of art. Just this in itself, to me, is a work of art. You've got a tray to hold the bases, several tokens that you're going to need, and it's all customized, and they all fit together quite nicely in this box. So you can see that overall, the production quality is really good. This is by far I'm very impressed with this. There's a few other items. You got some cards, but the next piece here is the dice. You're going to have six, well, not six, but you're going to have six colors, obviously representing the various reckoners. And you'll have three of these sort of white ones. These are generic, but then you'll have the colored ones, which typically has something that benefits them to that specific reckoner. So I'm going to use Megan's dice as an example. So on the regular dice, you're going to have the skull, which means that you can, for one point of hit on an epic, not enforcement. The red one can be used to do 1 point of damage on an enforcement, those little enforcement guys. This one allows you to do 1 investigate or 1 research. This one allows you to earn $1 or 1 value on your money track. This one allows you to gain or earn 1 wild. I forgot what it's called in this game, but I'll double check. And then this one is a sort of a suppression. I forgot what they call this one too. I really don't know my dice. It's a containment icon. You're containing the epic. And this one, sorry, going back, this is called a plan token. So it's a wild card. Okay, so it's evenly distributed throughout this. There are six different icons, so 6 different faces. But on the specific one for the Reckoner, whatever their particular ability is, you would have that extra bonus. So for example, Megan here actually has one that rolls 2 hits. She does have one. She doesn't have one that rolls a single hit. She's a 2-hitter. So she's probably good against enforcement. And then she has the other distribution of all the other ones. For Abraham, he gets 2 skulls for 2 hits on an epic. So he's going to be good against epics. You're going to have Cody. Cody is a little kind of a wild card. His bonus is that he gets two money symbols instead of just 1. That's not really thematic. I don't know why Cody is the money guy. He's not a money guy. I think he should be somewhere in line with maybe having, because he's a bit more versatile, he might have sort of maybe not a double, but say instead of money and the wild, he would have an extra single enforcement attack and epic attack icon. So it not doubled, but at least you have a higher chance of rolling one of those 2. That would be more thematic for him because he's a sniper. He should have more of an option. For Tia, she's the brains of the operation, and so she'll have more investigate than everyone else. And then you've got the prof, who will have more of the plan tokens, the wild tokens, because he's the leader of the group. He actually does a lot of helpful insight to the group. So that, again, that's pretty thematic. So the dices here, they're chunky. These are the 19 millimeter dices, very similar to G.I. Joe Mission Critical. They're big, they're chunky, and they sit in the trays quite well. And then you're going to have a bunch of cards. You're going to have equipment cards, and you're going to have epic cards. Epic cards are the cards that you'll be laying on those locations, and they are pretty much the name of all the epics that are referred to in the book. So as an example, this is shrapnel, and you're going to see various text here and iconography to help you do the setup. This represents how much research you need to do to basically find his weakness so that you can have an advantage when attacking him. This is his starting health, but if you're able to research him, his health then drops down to 2, or starts at 2. So it really depends on your approach. You could attack him, 6 times, or have 6 hits, and he'd still die. But some epics have infinite health, which means until you research them and break them basically and find their weakness, you can't attack them. This is the reward section. If I so happen to defeat Shrapnel, I would gain 3 research on the high epic or on Steelheart, and I would gain 2 containment, which I can use to lower the effects of other epics on the board. These are the effect. This is sort of the effect track or their action track, which will be tracked by another token. So there's like this. I forgot what. I don't have it here right now. And this is different iconography. You can either make Steelheart stronger, or you'll be killing off the population in Nukago, and there's several varying conditions depending on where the level of this epic is. And by containing, you'll be containing this portion of their, I guess, effect or ability. So pretty interesting. When I do a playthrough, it'll make more sense. You'll have character-specific cards that they each get. So they each get a specific card, and it's usually a specific ability or something that they get. So for example, with the prof, you can spend one of your skull icons to gain 3 of the attack icons. For this one, this is Tia, you can exhaust this card at the beginning of your round or during your turn to give a plan token to someone. This is David's. If you exhaust it, you can change the face of a die, one of your dice, to any face that you want. This is Cody, which is kind of interesting. He has a sniper token, which basically means he could be in one location and you can place a sniper token at another location and he can actually act as if he's in that location as well. You've got Megan, who can spend a contain face icon, and it would give her 3 epic or attack epic icons. You've got Abraham, which allows him to reroll his dice, and then that's it. And then you'll have a set of equipment card that gets laid out on the sort of main tray for your population health and so forth. And here you'll see that it has a dollar value, how much it costs to buy. There'll be a phase in your turn that allows you to buy these, as well as the ultimate effect that this does. And they pretty good variety, I would say. I have to say the ones that benefit I love the most are the ones that usually give you an extra dice. And I think that's what's nice about this game, is that you can acquire more dice than your original pool, but you can also lose dice as well depending on certain effects. So I'm just going to take a pause right there to talk a bit about the overall quality. Now, first things I'm going to go to is the dice. Do they really need to be this big? I don't think 19 millimeters is necessary. I think you could have gone with the standard 16 mil dice. I wouldn't go any smaller than that, and that could effectively reduce the size of these trays, right? Because the dice are smaller. These are placeholders. So for example, when I do a roll, I'm going to roll my dice. I have to lock in at least one, and I don't choose to do another one. And then I got to do a second roll. I have to lock in one dice. Maybe I want to keep this one, and then I would do a third roll, and I have to lock in all those dice. The trays would be slightly smaller if it's a 16 mil, and overall this would be slightly smaller. These extra trays, I forgot to mention, they come with tokens to track the epic's health, as well as the epic's research value, or I guess investigation value. So for an example, these are the tokens that you'd use. So whatever the epic is, let's say it's Shrapnel. So he just shows up at the Navy Pier in New Cargo, and he has a health value of 6, so you put the token tracker here, and you place it here at 4. So as you investigate him or research him, you'll bring this down to the point where when you completely have figured out his weakness, you mark it off here, and then you can start chipping away at his health. Now remember, if you investigate him first and you've found his weakness, then his health actually starts at 2, not at 6. So you're going to take 2 hits, and then you're going to kill him, and then earn the reward. Now, does it have to be these? No. No, this is not necessary. They could definitely be a little bit smaller, or pegs, or a plastic token. And even still, the trays don't have to be trays. You could have sort of a dual layer board, which I get it. It's nice because nothing shakes, nothing slips. I get that. But this isn't a game where there's a lot of moving around. You're not constantly jostling with these boards. So I don't think it's necessary for it to be like this. And then you can easily shrink the size of either the game trays or use dual layer boards to save some space and the size of this box. You also have the same thing. You know, you have a tracker here to keep track of the health, and you also have a bunch of tokens. Where are they? They're right here for your main board here that keeps track of the population, your money, as well as the insight or research on your whereabouts. So you're going to start these tokens right here. The recommended starting level for your population is 40, and then your recommended starting money that you have is 4. And yeah, you're moving it as your population decreases. You're moving this around as epics are trying to find out your location in your base. They're moving this down. When you spend money, you're moving this down. When you earn money, you're moving it back up. Not necessary. These are big tokens for what they're doing, and it's nice. There's nothing wrong with it. Nobody's going to complain that these, it's got weight. It feels chunky. It sounds nice. You can listen to it. But is it necessary? No. In some way, I think it's just. I actually agree. I think it's overproduced. It's nice, but it's overproduced. If you're looking at the price point value, retail, even the Kickstarter value, it could easily be knocked down to 2/3 the price if they changed the size of the components or change the components in general. Use dual layer boards. The box would be smaller. Things would fit smaller. Shipping would be a little bit better. I don't think it was necessary. I think this was to go above and this is above and beyond. This was probably the designers, Seth Van Orden and Brett Sobel. They probably were huge fans of Brandon Sanderson and just wanted to do justice to this novel series and bring attention to it, and wanted it to glorify it, over glorify it with these components, and team up with Game Trace, which I'm sure is also the partnership, licensing, whatever it is, drives up the cost. The value of this game is reflected in the quality of the components, but for the type of game it is and what you're doing with these components, I don't think it's worth that money. So if I saw this, if that person on the Facebook group was selling it either for the retail price or maybe they want to make a small profit because it's kind of a rare find, I wouldn't do it. It's too expensive. Even as interested as I was, and I love dice games. I love rolling dice. 16 mil or 19 mil. I still love rolling dice, and I love the randomness of it. I wouldn't pay that money. I only got it because it was half of what its actual retail value was, and that for me was a sale. But it doesn't mean that I don't enjoy the game. I do enjoy the game still, and once I get this on the table to explain to you how the game flow works, you'll see it. It is not a very quick game, but it is a cooperative game, and you're all rolling your dice together and you're taking actions simultaneously. Well, not simultaneously, cooperatively, concurrently. Very similar to what I would say Hellboy, the board game. You have action dice. You have action tokens. You have 3 each, and there's no particular order. You're working together to achieve an objective or to do something. And that's the one thing I really like about Hellboy. Unlike other turn-based board games, there's a little bit of downtime. It depends on what you have to do. It depends how many actions you can choose from. But they may be cooperative in itself. But this is really more truly cooperative. You're rolling all your dice together and then there's no particular order of rolling. So you can either all roll together or you can coordinate. You can start planning. A little bit of alpha gamer might happen here, quarterbacking, but it's not difficult. And then you can see what other results are out there, and then you can roll yours to see if anything's different, and then play off of that. So that's the coordination and cooperation. And then once you have all your dice locked in, and you're ready to spend those dice, you would take the dice and you'd say, okay, so let's figure out what to do. And it's sort of a puzzle, like you're solving puzzles in a way. You want to try to contain certain epics if you can't defeat them, or you're in a position to research an epic to break and find their weakness so that you can take them down quickly. So you're then coordinating with the rest of your team. I can see this with 6 people. I can see it working. It doesn't create the same kind of madness if I were to say Project Elite, where 6 people rolling their dice all at the same time, putting their hands on the board and moving. That is pure chaos. With this, no, there's none of this reaching forward and moving stuff. There's all about taking actions and eliminating objectives or defeating epics. So that kind of cooperation coordination works really well at this game, and it's very reflective of the theme in the book, which is they all have to work together. They all pull in their knowledge, their skill set, and their attributes, their positive attributes, and sometimes their negative attributes, together. There's no lone wolf in the book, and and as such, there's no lone wolfing in this game. I like it, and it works very well. The production quality, like I said, it's great. There's nothing wrong with it. I just think that it wasn't really necessary. They could have brought down the price. It might have appealed to more people because it would be then in a more acceptable price range and exposure. They get to figure out, hey, I've never heard of Reckoners. It sounds really interesting, but I'm not going to pay over $100 for it if I don't even know what it is and I don't know how it plays out. But for half that price or a little bit less, it's a bit more tolerable. You might take that chance. People don't take chances over $100 nowadays. Although when I watch Kickstarter, it feels like everybody seems to have a lot of disposable income. So that's basically the components and the overall gist. In the flow of the game, you're going to roll your dice. You're going to take your dice, whatever the 6 dice that you have, you're going to roll it, and then you're going to lock in a dice, roll again. Here, I'll just add a few more here. You're going to lock in whatever dice you need on your second roll, and your final roll, you're stuck with whatever you have unless you have a card or ability that allows you to do otherwise. And then from there on, you're going to start. You're going to start figuring out what to do. And you have several options. You can use your dice in various ways depending on the icon. You can activate an ability, you can discard a dice to move, or discard a dice to get rid of an obstacle in your way. And then you'll receive the rewards if you defeat any epics, and then you have an opportunity to purchase any of the equipment from the equipment board if you can afford it. And it can go to whoever. You're purchasing it collectively as a group. So it's not like, the prof is purchasing it. No, you're purchasing it together, and the prof says, hey, Megan, you take it. Once that's done, if there's any epics left that have been eliminated, you would repopulate that part of the city with a new epic, and then you would activate them. You would activate them based on their activation track, and then you would activate Steelheart, which is his board here, and activate the things here. And it makes more sense once I started to play. But basically, you'll be going through that process in a cycle, and you're going to focus on taking down epics to help research Steelheart to the point where you're able to defeat him, hopefully. I find that this is a difficult game, but there's easy ways to scale it. You don't have to follow the setup instructions in the rule book. You can customize it to the point where you get a good flow, a good sense of harmony between the different characters. And again, because it's dice rolling, no game will play the same because you don't know what rolls you get or what you're going to end up with, and you will basically have to improvise if things don't go your way. And I feel like it's a relatively long game. So I'm not sure if I'll just go through a quick run through or if I'll do a full play, but I'll get the board, the table set up. I'm going to say because of the size of these game trays, this is a table hog. For sure, for what it is a table hog. But I'm going to get the board set up for a round of the Reckoners so that you can see how it plays out and decide for yourself if it's something that you'd want to invest in, if you can still find it, or at least read the novel about it and then maybe find a secondhand copy. So I will set things up and I'll see you soon. All right, I'm back. I've got my table set up for a game of The Reckoners by Navu Games, and as you can see, I'm trying to squeeze everything into the view of the camera, and I guess comparatively speaking, it takes up just as much space as my other larger board games like Kick-Ass, Project Elite. But fortunately, because it's a bit more modular, it allows a little bit of flexibility in terms of where I can place stuff. So you're going to see I have the Steelheart board, and that's going to track the stats for Steelheart and his research required. And you need to research him completely before you can even bother attempting to attack him. You're going to have the Reckoner's Resource Tray board, which keeps track of the population. It keeps track of in the level of investigation that the epics have on you in terms of your location and whereabouts. And I'll explain what happens as we move down that track. How much money you have, we're starting at a value of 4, and as well as the first cycle of equipment card that's sitting out there. And at any time during your purchase phase, you can spend, I believe, $2 or a dollar, I can't remember, to clear the 4 cards and get a fresh batch in there. So you have options to, if nothing here appeals to you or anything that you need. I've got 3 locations each with an epic randomly chosen, and the standard rules in terms of scaling difficulty is you go +1 location for every player that you have. So I have a 2-player game, and so therefore I would have 3 locations. If I had a 3-player game, I would have 4 locations, and so forth. So you can certainly increase difficulty if you want by adding more locations if you want, or you can make it a little bit easier by removing 1 less or just equal to the number of players. It depends. There is some flexibility because I find that the base rules, it is quite challenging. So I've randomly selected the epics that are these locations. I've got Steelheart, whose miniature is right here, and I've placed them randomly. I'm just going to place them in one of these locations. Now, once you have everything set up, the first thing you'll notice is that I've already set up their stats. So let's take a quick look at Steelheart's board. So you'll see that the recommended level for, I think, normal or easy is 20. 20 for his research value, and it would also be, once you find his weakness, it would also be 20 for his health value. You can certainly, again, customize this, make it 30 if you want a little bit tougher, or if you want to go insane, make it 40. And then you'll have his starting attributes. His attributes are the 3 colors here. You'll notice that these symbols and colors are also reflective on some of the epics, because in the end, if they're still alive, these epics sometimes will help empower Steelheart even more to make him even that much more difficult. So in this case, you'll see that I've got these tokens and sort of a groove here to keep track. And again, when we go double back to production quality, don't know if it was really necessary to be like this, but that's fine. I think a dual layer board with a dial might have been just as effective, but we'll see. And what will happen is he has a starting value at the 2nd space location. He will always have a minimum value if you're able to contain him. And that's what the term contain does here, is you're able to shift these. But this is his starting value. So here, the yellow or orange or whatever you want to call it represents the kill count. And in this case, he would kill 2 people out of the Nukago population. The black here represents the insight or intel that he has on the reckoner's base or their whereabouts and locating them. And as he activates, and if depending on the number of cubes here, you would then move this token, if you can see on this side, down to the point where if you get to the last slot, one member of your team has to give up a dice, which gets locked here. And the only way you can get it back is during your purchase round is to spend $2 to purchase back. And then it resets itself and then continues. Down here will be, the red is the number of enforcement officers. And the symbol here is the deployment of 2 plus whatever track you're on. So in this case, it'd be 3. And they deploy in groups of 2. Now, the one thing about these boards is, depending on player count, you'll notice that this board is for 2-player count, and it has the 2A. And you can also flip it over for 2B, which gives you a bit more difficulty. So you'll see that he kills 2 as a base amount. And there are markers for 3 to 4 players and 5 to 6 players. So you can definitely scale in terms of difficulty that Steelheart has. And that's his board. So, and then down here is a barricade. A barricade, this blue icon is a barricade, which is represented by this token, which would be placed at his location, depending on the number of barricades. And this is a barrier. It prevents you from moving to a location, or if you're in the location, it prevents you from moving out of a location. So we've got that set up. Then we've got the epics. So I'll just go through one example. So we'll take Bolt as an example. When I set him up, so that he has 4. The token is on the 4th spot for his research, and his health is infinite, which means he cannot be damaged at all until you find out his weakness. Now, not all epics are like that, but if I were so happen to research him to figure out where his weakness is, his health value becomes 2, in which case I can attack him. And you'll see that for his activation, he has these abilities. if you see this symbol, whatever the color is of the 4 colors, that means that he would empower or increase the track on Steelheart's track. If it was yellow, you increase that one, or red or blue. Sometimes it has a combination, and you'll see that there are 1 or 2 here that have that. And then you'll be starting his position at the 3rd space, which is the 3rd icon. And you'll see that all the other epics are like that. Now, as a quick variant, I would recommend just starting at 2, because what happens is, it's very strange, and I don't know why they do it this way. They say this initial setup, you place it on the 3rd spot. Let's say at some point you defeat Bolt. He's been killed. The next time you put a new epic in, you would start them at the 2nd spot location as they enter. I don't know why. Why not just keep it simple and keep it just at 2? I find having it at 3 makes it very, very difficult, because the epics, they can get powerful very quickly. So I have a couple variations that I can summarize at the end. I'm going to just do a run through of a few rounds. A full playthrough might take too long, but hey, comment below if you want to see a full gameplay and see if whether or not I can defeat Steelheart. By all means, let me know, and I'll do another video on it when I have more time. So for the sake of argument, I'm going to start base rules. We're going to start at the level 3, or the 3rd space of their activation track. So you'll see here, if you can see it, Prestige has his track set accordingly. And the one over here, Avalanche, and I have Steelheart at his location set as well. So we're ready to go, and all I have left is Abraham and Megan. But before I do that, there's what we call sort of a prologue, which is Steelheart gets 1 quick activation of 1 part of his activation track, which is the deployment of enforcement officers. In this case, he's deploying 3 enforcement in groups of 2. So the first 2 will be at his location, and going clockwise, it'll be the next one will be on that location. Deployment will go in a clockwise fashion for his deployment, and also when you're laying out the locations, ideally you lay out in sort of a circular pattern, kind of like Marvel United, like it's sort of a circular. But in this case, these are considered adjacent to each other. If you added more, then again, you'd lay it out in the sense that you would understand that certain locations are adjacent to other locations. Because I have 3 here, they are all adjacent to each other. So after that, you'll roll the Steelheart dice on terms of his movement. It is I think this is a D12, but it only goes up to 4. So I'm going to roll, he rolls 2, and he's going to go clockwise, 1, 2. Now he's going to sit there at this location where Prestige is. He's at the Navy Pier. So we're going to put his location dice right there, or his movement dice there. I've got the tokens off to my side. I've got Abraham with his green base, and with his big gun, and I'm just going to place him, I'm going to start him off right here. And I've got Megan, actually, you know what, I'm going to start him here, and I'm going to place Megan. I'm going with these 2 over here. So we are now ready. We've done sort of the prologue where everything's set up. I also get to do one more thing during prologue, which is I get to buy something. So I'm going to take a look at my resource board, and you can see I've got 4 cards. I think a couple of them I don't mind getting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend, I have $4, I'm going to spend $1 to get the motorcycle. And with this, I can exhaust this card during my turn. It will reset at the beginning of a new round to move. And I'm going to give that to Abraham. And I forgot that Abraham and Megan each have their own unique card. Abraham has his faith card, and she's going to have her checkmate card, which is a reference to the book. I'll let you guys read it first to figure out what that is. And then I still have $3 more I can spend. I'm going to refresh whatever's here. I think I will spend $2, 1, 2, to get explosives. And this is an ongoing effect where every single enforcement attack translates to 2. And I'm going to give that to Abraham as well. Now, technically, I could give it to Megan, and she could totally wipe people with that. So maybe I'll give this to Megan. I'll give it to Megan instead. Okay. And we're going to refresh that one. I still have $1 left. And I think I'll save it. I'm just going to save that. So at this point, we're ready. And this is where we're going to roll dice. Now, it's going to appear like I'm rolling, taking turns because I'm playing solo, but I'm going to alternate between the 2 characters. So I'm going to start with Abraham. and I roll. So for your first roll, you have to lock at least one dice. You're committed to at least one dice. So I like getting this double skull. So I'm going to lock that one, and I might just lock one of these. This is the contain icon, and then I'm going to put this aside for now. I'm going to let Megan roll. Ideally, she can have something to help take care of those guys. She doesn't get anything that I wanted, which is fine, but I will lock in a containment, and that's it. And just for the sake of argument, I'm going to roll for her again. Still not getting what I want. So I'm going to lock in a skull. Let's see if Abraham has any better luck. Okay, so he's got a bunch here, which is fine. I will lock in this one as well as an investigate, which would be nice. And I'll roll my last one for Abraham, and he gets the $sign and the thing. Now, I do have his option to do faith and re-roll, but let's see what Megan comes up with. We need some investigate. Okay, so she has one investigate, and we are now locked with the rest of these. Now, even though the tray allows you up just 3, it doesn't matter. It tells you can extend it. And even though there are 6 slots to activate actions, you're not limited to 6 because sometimes you will have more than 6 dice. So I think for this purpose, I'm going to spend this to re-roll. And oh, I almost had that. And I get another investigate. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look here. So now, oh, and I also forgot that each of them also begin with the plan token, which is a wild token. Okay. So this is a pretty good spread. Let me just see how this works out. I think for Megan, we can probably try and go ahead and take out Avalanche. We might have enough, but I'm not going to do that. I really wish I had the icon that I need. So I'm going to show you one of each action so that you have an idea of what it does, and then we'll proceed. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spend Megan. She's going to spend her investigate, and wherever the location she is investigating or researching the epic at that location. So it's Avalanche, and I'm going to bring him down to 2. Then she is going to she's going to spend a containment. Okay, so I've got this containment. I'm going to spend this containment icon, and I'm going to reduce by 1 the activation track for Avalanche. So basically, I'm suppressing how big of a threat he is. I'm trying to contain him and prevent him from getting too far. Now, I'll give an example where if I don't contain him, what happens, and you'll see what happens through the course of the next phase after we finish rolling our dice. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to spend one of my skulls, and I'm going to move. So when you discard a skull, you can move or break a barrier, like I was showing you before, if there's a barrier that's been laid down. So we'll just do that. And I'm going to move to this location here. I'm going to move where Steelheart is. Now, I have a containment here, and typically you can use this containment for any epic at your location, including Steelheart. But I'm not using it for Steelheart. I'm going to do a containment on Prestige to bring him down here. And let's take a look at Abraham. Abraham is going to go ahead, and he wants to contain... Actually, we're not going to contain. We're going to do a move. So I'm going to discard... Oh no, I don't know what I want to do. Okay, I'll use this as an example. So I've got my plan token, which is a wild card. I can discard it to move. I can also discard it to activate an ability if I have one, and I can also use it to break barriers. So I'm going to discard this to move, and I'm going to move here. Even though I have motorcycle, it's a free move. Sorry, I have motorcycle. I exhaust motorcycle, and I have a free move to move here. Now, if there was a barrier at this location, I wouldn't be able to. I would have to discard a dice or a plan token to break the barrier in order to access it. If I was here and there was a barrier, I'd have to break the barrier in order to leave it. So there was no barrier. I exhaust my motorcycle. I'm moving here. I'm going to spend this token to defeat one of these enforcement officers. They're tiny, tiny little guys. Kind of looks like the miniature version of the G.I. Joe Crimson Guards. So I defeat one of them. I have 2 investigation. I'm going to spend these 2 to go 1, 2, and now I have revealed Avalanche's secret and weakness. So once I've done that, instead of a health of 7, he now has a health of 4. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to spend these 2 to do 2 damage to bring him down to 2. Now, if I was smarter, I could actually have kept Megan there, but that's okay. You know what? We'll deal with that. So that leaves me with those 2 there, and I'm going to spend this token, which gains me a plan token. I don't get to use it this round, but I will gain this to be used for the next round. So I'm just going to place it on the top of his board, which allows me to gain that token. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move. I'm going to move here. I made a bad choice, and it's not reflective of what I would normally do, but I want to give an example of what can happen. So I'm going to move here. Otherwise, I would just waste that dice. It doesn't serve me any good. But for Megan, I'm going to go and I know this seems like a silly waste, but you know what? I'm going to spend her plan token. I'm going to spend it to move back. Sorry, I should not have moved, but that's okay. And then I'm going to use this with my ability Checkmate. I can only use it once during my turn. I assign this value, and it gives me 3 of these attack epic abilities. And that's more than enough to give overkill. And now I've killed Avalanche. Avalanche is dead. So when he's dead, I didn't have to use the contain, but I'm playing on the fly right now. I gain 4 research on Steelheart, and I gain 1 plan token. So here, I'm going to move it down to 16. And I gain 1 plan token back, which is going to be available to me next round, and Avalanche is dead. I have 1 more token left to use, which I really can't do for anything. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move Megan again, and I'm going to move her here. Okay. So this ends the dice rolling and use of dice phase. So first I roll the dice, then I use my dice, assign it. Anybody I killed, I receive the rewards. There is a slight change in the rules I think that apply for the expansion, which was Steel Slayer. Normally, you would complete your turn, then receive your rewards for killing any of the epics, but you can do it simultaneously so that you can earn it as you're gaining it. So, for example, if some rewards might kill or contain, or I don't know, give you money, that can happen right away. So now we're in the purchase equipment phase. So now we've only got $1. We didn't earn any money. I could spend that dollar, but I don't want to, and I'm not going to do it. But at this point, I could buy anything that I can afford from this and assign it to any of my team members. So once that's done, you've basically done the player phase. Now we go into the epic phase. If there's any epics that you've killed and that are locations that are empty, you would then spawn a new one. So we've got Zodiac. When we spawn him, his activation track would start on the 2nd space. Unlike when the initial setup, it was on the 3rd space. I don't know why, but we're just going to go with that. So he's on the 2nd space. And then once all the locations have an epic, you now activate all these epics, beginning with the epic at Steelheart's location. He's like the supreme epic. So with Prestige, you're going to look at his card here, and you see his activations has 2 available to him. The first one is the red, and the second one is the 2 kills. So this red one means that he is empowering Steelheart, which means that on his track he's going to move up 1 slot on his red track activation, which means he's going to be able to deploy more enforcement troops. Then the next thing Prestige is going to do is kill 2 people in your population. So our population goes down to 38. We started at 40. And then you will increase Prestige's activation track by 1. I don't know if I'm referring it to correctly, but his activation track by 1 plus 1 for every enforcement officer that that's there. Fortunately, there are no additional enforcement officers. So what we'll do is we'll move, this is his action bracket, I think it's called. Yeah. So, sorry, not this one. We're going to move it just 1. If there was another enforcement officer there, you would move it 1 more. Okay, then going clockwise, we're going to go to Zodiac, and he's going to activate. So you're going to see that he has this symbol, which empowers Steelheart's black activation track and moves over 1. I don't really like these trackers because the grooves are not perfectly fit, so they do get stuck. I don't like that at all. But again, I feel like this was just for the over-glorified production quality. And then he's going to also empower Steelheart's red track. And then he's going to go up 1 on his activation track or action track, plus 1 for the enforcement. You can see that they can get powerful very quickly. Now we move on to Bolt. Bolt is going to empower Steelheart's black track, which is the investigate the Reckoner's base, and he's going to kill 2 members of your population. So now we're down to 36. And now you're going to see he's going to increase 1 plus 1 for every enforcement officer. But you'll see that he's at the end of his activation track. But you see this icon over here? This is like the overflow. If you reach the end of your track, and for every space beyond that that you can't move, you'll initiate this instead, whatever symbol's here. So in this symbol here, we're going to initiate investigating the base twice, because it's 1 for him and then 1 for each enforcement officer. So on my Reckoner track, I'm going to move this down 2. And that's it. That ends the Epic's turn, and now Steelheart gets to go. So with Steelheart, we're going to look at his track, or his status, and we're going to, from top to bottom, execute these 1 at a time. So the first one, well, he's going to kill 2 populations. So now we're down to 34. Then he's going to investigate and some intel on the whereabouts of our Reckoners. So we're going to go 1 and then 2. The moment we hit the bottom track, we have now given up some key piece of information. That means one of our team members has to give up 1 of their dice that gets locked. So we're going to choose Abraham. He's going to put this dice, we're going to put it over here. The only way that Abraham can get it back is if he spends $2 during the purchase phase to gain that one back. So that was 1, 2, and then a third one, which resets it back to the top, so it's down 1. So that was 3 in total. Not good. Now, the same thing here. If anything were to empower Steelheart and he's already at the maximum of his track, any overflow would happen and execute here, which is basically him killing more population. This is why containment is important. You need to balance killing enforcements, because the more enforcement officers that are at the location, the more powerful the epic becomes. So you want to eliminate them, but also contain the abilities of those epics and Steelheart so that their overall impact to the population and you is not as crazy. That's an interesting balance, and that's what makes it very difficult at times. Okay, so the next thing Steelheart's going to do is he's going to deploy 5 enforcement officers in groups of 2, starting at his location. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's no maximum. And then 5. There's no maximum in terms of the number of enforcement officers at a location. So I believe there's a couple losing conditions. The first losing condition, I believe, is if your population goes straight down to 0. You also lose if I think if you run out of enforcement officers or barricades to place, because that basically means you're doing terrible. You can't even keep up with the madness. So then the next thing he's going to do is he's got a barricade which he's going to drop at his location, and that prevents Abraham from leaving or Megan from entering. And then he's going to move. You're going to take his dice, roll it. The barricade doesn't affect him, and he's going to move 2. So he's going to move back to or over to the power plant. And now that ends the sequence. So you would unexhaust all your cards, anything that you've exhausted. The Reckoners, if you've collected any plan tokens during that last round, they now have the ability to use it. And you take out all your dice, ready to roll. And sorry, one thing I forgot to do for Zodiac is when he showed up, I had to put down his stats: 7 health, 3 research to find out his weakness, and we're set. And that ends one full round. So as you can see right now, my population's at 34. That doesn't seem too bad. But it looks like there's quite a bit to get managed out here. So we're going to try another round to go through, and let's see what we can do. So we're going to start with Abraham. We'll roll his dice. Okay, I get 2. I'm going to lock these ones in. Okay, and I'm gonna hold this off to the side. I'm gonna get Megan to roll. Oops. She gets this, and then she will take this. Sorry, I'm gonna lock this one in. I'm gonna keep this one, and I'm gonna roll one more time. I get this one, and a research, which probably isn't too bad. I'll keep a research. Let's let Abraham roll. He gets these 2, which I'll lock this one in, and I'll do one more roll. Doesn't get me what I want. I will exhaust his faith to roll again. That's not what I want. That's fine. Darn. Okay. And Megan, she will get these 2. Okay, not great, but let's see what we can do. Okay. So, I think I might be able to take Prestige out if I had the right ones, but maybe I can send Megan over there. Okay, so I think the first thing I want Megan to do is we're going to use this one to kill off the 2 officers over here. And then I want to... Sorry, this one should be here. No, wait. No, it's 3. I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm going to use this and this to contain Bolt by 1, and Steelheart, I'm going to get rid of one of his locating Reckoner's base. Now, while I'm there, I have a research. The symbol for researching Steelheart has a little, like a orange crown in it, which is only when you gain rewards. So as far as I understand, you can only research epics. You cannot research Steelheart. That's why when you're killing the epics, you're gaining intel from them on his weakness. That's how I see it. Thematically, makes sense. So I'm going to spend this one to investigate Bolt by 1. And then I'm going to have Abraham do 2 investigations to figure out Prestige's weakness. He was initially infinite health, and now he's down to 3. And I think Abraham wants to spend one of these to kill the enforcement. And then he's gonna spend one of his plan tokens to get rid of this barrier. And Megan's gonna spend her plan token to move. She's gonna move here. And in which case, she's going to use this to activate her checkmate to do 3 damage to Prestige, who gets killed. We investigate Steelheart by 1, and we gain $2. That's it. And, oh, Megan has an opportunity here, but I can't get her across. That's unfortunate. That's okay. So let's move Abraham over here, and we'll investigate Zodiac, and we're going to gain another plan token for my next round, and we're going to keep this. We're going to keep this one here. Megan's going to have to use this one to kill off this last. It's a little overkill, but I don't think I can do anything else with it. So we've completed our roll and use. And we've received the rewards from killing Prestige. And now we've got the opportunity to spend some money, which I'm going to spend the money and get the med kit. And I'll give the med kit to Abraham. Okay. We've purchased the equipment, and that's it. So now we're going to go to adding the epics, any empty spaces. We're going to go ahead. We've got Stasis, who's coming on the board. We will start her at the second slot of her activate track. And then beginning with Bolt, we're going to execute it. Let's go. So he's going to move Steelheart, his track up 1. He's going to kill 1 population, and then he's going to bump himself up 1. Then Stasis is going to, she's got the actual investigate the reckoners symbol, so this tracker is going to go down 1, and she's going to beef up the barrier track on Steelheart, and then she's going to buff up 1 as well. And then coming down to Zodiac, he's got a whole slew of things, and this is not going to be good. He's going to first increase the track for Steelheart's intel on the Reckoners. It can't go beyond, so now we initiate the overflow, which would be kill a population. We're going to increase Steelheart's red track, kill a population because it's overflow. Then he's going to kill 2 out of the population. Well, now we're at 29, and he's going to buff up 1 plus 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 can't go beyond. It's going to overflow, and that means 3 times this is going to move up. 1, 2, and because we can't go past that one, he's going to kill a population. Okay? You might want to rewind that and go back if you didn't follow it, but that is basically how it works. Dangerous. Very, very dangerous. So Zodiac has activated. That's done, and now it's Steelheart's turn. So Steelheart's going to look at his top of his track. He's killing 4 population. We're down to 24. He's going to get some intel on the Reckoners, which will be 1, 2. Megan's going to have to give up a dice. And we reset. 1, 2, and then 3. And then he's going to deploy. He's going to deploy 5. Starting here. 1, 2. 3, 4. And 5. The Magnificent Mile is getting pretty crowded there. Sorry, I forgot to put this one out there. And then he's going to put up 2 barriers in the power plant. And then he's going to move. He's going to move 4. So he's going to move over here, clockwise. And that ends Steelheart's move. We have now completed 1 full round, or it's 2 rounds now. We unexhaust any of the cards that we have, and you'll notice that I've got 2 dice locked up, only 5 dice for each of my characters, and it's not looking good. My population is almost half of what it started with, and I've barely put a dent in the research on Steelheart. So I'm going to go ahead and do 1 more round for you guys, but right now it's not looking good. One of the benefits, I think, is the fact that if you make a few modifications, it might score off the difficulty. So I'll go through that right after this round. So let's see. Let's go ahead. Actually, you know what? I think I'm just gonna stop here. I think that gives a good flow. You see that you've got to manage the track on Steelheart. You've got to manage the different epics. You need to kill the epics in order to investigate or research Steelheart. And once you do, you'll be able to lift this off and reveal his health track. So you are trying to gain to that perspective to try to meet that goal. You're trying to manage what's happening here, as well as the dice rolls that you get, which again, because they're dice, it is random. So there's a couple things in terms of the way I modify the gameplay. The initial start, when I had initial setup, I start them off at 2 instead of 3. Okay, and as new epics enter, they would start also at 2. That just keeps it easy. Steelheart would also start at 2. At the second space of his activation tracks. Okay, in terms of money, they say the starting should be 4. I would go. I think there's some rules on BGG. 4 plus 1 for every player, so I would have 6. Okay, and then you have a bit more options to spend. And then in terms of your everything else, your dice, that all stays the same. The starting health and research values for the epics, that all stays the same. So I typically would roll with that. Now, if you are a fan of the book, and if you know these characters well, you will know that there are minor epics, there are high epics, and then obviously someone like Steelheart who's like a supreme epic. So for me, a minor variation would be depending on the epic that shows up. If he's a minor epic, I would only have his start value at the first space of his activation track. If he's a high epic, you can do 2 or 3, but I would stay safely to do 2. Now that obviously adds more layers to managing, oh, which epic is this, which epic is that. But if you already know the story, and this is where reading the story and reading the novel can help, you will know that Prestige is a high epic. You might know that Zodiac, I think he's a minor epic. So then that's already, sort of ingrained in your brain because you've read the novel and you're already immersed in this Reckoner's world and you're familiar with New Cargo. So then you'd be able to make those fine adjustments, and that sort of makes it a bit more thematic because the minor epics, yeah, Fortuity, was it Fortuity? No, it was Conflux. He's a minor epic. It didn't take much to sort of take him down or deal with him. So you could make it a bit more thematic to the novel and to the game. In terms of the flow of the gameplay, that helps balance some of it out. And you can also change the starting health of Steelheart if you want. You can also change, maybe his initial start value for his activation track. There's lots of ways to sort of customize it till you get a sense of, okay, this works, and moving forward, this is how I'm going to navigate the initial setup as well as ongoing effects of their activation tracks. But keep in mind, it still doesn't change the fact that if you're not managing the enforcement officers, their powers will jump very quickly. When I first played this, I actually forgot that it's a minimum of 1 at the end of the epic activation. Minimum of 1 plus 1 for every enforcement officer. I was actually keeping it steady. So I won very easily because it was never moving. The threat was never increasing. But every round, a threat is increasing, and I feel that's very thematic to the novel. It feels like New Cargo is under a lot of tension, fear, threat. You can't walk outside. It's like COVID all over again. But this gameplay and the way things move, it works. I love dice rolling. I have no issues with rolling the dice, taking my chances, and trying to work with what results I get. But also keep in mind that it's cooperative and collaborative. You're rolling together. You're alternating. Okay, you can do this. Oh, you do this. You do that. I really like this. This is very similar to the way Project Elite works, where you're working together. This, and same with Hellboy. All the other board games I have is usually just turn-based. So you need to do your turn, finish all your actions, and then the next person does it. But in this situation, there's a high opportunity here to really have cross-table talking, to get a plan, sort of work out these puzzles. Who should you attempt first? Who gives you the most benefit or the most rewards? What's the priority? Is the priority trying to mitigate and contain Steelheart because he's getting too powerful? Or maybe there's one epic that we just have to eliminate him because he's the one causing those problems. Like Stasis is brutal. Population, yeah, sure. Sacrifice a few people in the population for the greater good. No problem. But there's going to be that talk. Now, if you've got an alpha gamer to the group, just like Pandemic, just like Kick-Ass, and all those other games that I have, yes, you're going to have the one who just seems to think he knows everything. But, I play with the right group. To be honest, when the rare opportunities where I have more than one player, I typically, and especially a game like this, I would sort of nominate the team leader, right? And we take turns. So you each have a chance to be the alpha gamer. Follow the plan. Here's the plan, what I think we should do. Everyone execute it. Then the next turn, go ahead. The next player, you're team captain. You go ahead and make the plan, and let's follow through with it. So while there is the essence of potential alpha gaming here, it's not terrible, and you are working. It's overshadowed by the fact that you can collaborate concurrently together. I really like that. Keeping track of everything, Not a problem. It's again, like, it's nice to have all these tracking things and all these little tokens. The size of the overall components does not deter away from its ability to keep track of the information that you need. Um, and at the end of the day, with the dice rolling and the randomness, there's a lot of replay value. I think there was some comments online, and I think they made a change with Steel Slayer, the expansion, where, you know, it'd be nice if each location was unique. I think it's already unique enough when you have a different epic in each location. And if you wanted to, you could potentially create your own if you want to. Maybe, at this location, you can only, attack or research with one research at a time. You can't do doubles or some kind of hindrance. But I think the game is difficult enough as it is that you don't need to add in that extra layer. And there's other ways to adjust the difficulty without having to add more text or complexity to the locations themselves. They have 6 location trays because there's 6 locations or 7 locations if you in the event that you have all 6 players. So it's for quantity, for no other purpose. I think overall it scales relatively well. In terms of player count, it makes sense. You increase the difficulty of Steelheart, you increase the number of locations, which means that increases the number of epics, which also increases the number of effects that can take place. So, but you have more variety. If I had, David, who excels in containment, he can be the guy going around containing things. Megan can be the one taking care of enforcements. Abraham comes in when the time is right to take out epics. That's the kind of collaboration, and I like that each character is unique and has their strengths, and that makes a difference when it comes to collaboration or cooperative play. So all in all, I'm quite happy. I think I really lucked out with finding this game. Again, it wasn't something that I was purposely looking for. It it was just by luck and at a price that honestly I think a fool would pass up. So would I recommend this going out getting retail price? If you've read the book and you love it, and this has a very thematic element to it that ties in with the novel, yeah. If you can still find it, if you can find it secondhand, do it. If they do a reprint of this on a Kickstarter, maybe. I don't think it's necessary to get all the stretch goals. I don't think there were a lot of stretch goals. A couple extra cards, maybe a metal components. I don't think it really makes a big difference. And you need shelf space for this. You need somewhere to place this big box, and you need table space for it. But I think I'm very happy with this purchase, with this find, and in fact, it brought me into this novel, which I have now started the second book in the 3-part series, which is Firefight, and it's drawn me in. So this actually had a sort of a two-prong effect. I've got a great game with dice rolling that I love, and I have a novel that I can read on the off hours that I'm not gaming. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this and just sort of pulling up a chair with me and playing the Reckoners. If you want me to do a full playthrough where I try to take down Steelheart, I'm pretty sure that this was not going to turn out very well, this particular game. Send me a comment below and let me know if this interests you, and maybe I'll put together a full-on playthrough of the game and see what my odds are stacked up against Steelheart. So thanks again for watching, and until next time, stay bored.